Grace and peace to each of you. We're so grateful to have you with us for another time of teaching in the Word of God as we have begun this series on the principles of discipleship. And we are on part 3 of that teaching. And I want to invite your attention to Hebrews chapter 13. And we're going to read a clause in verse 17. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 17. And it says, obey those who have the rule over you and be submissive. Obey those who have the rule over you and be submissive. When we speak of a disciple, it is the Greek word mathetes, which refers to a learner, which is the plural form of the Greek singular mathano, indicating thought accompanied by endeavor. So a disciple is one who follows the teacher and the teaching and becomes one with the teacher and the teaching. So he or she will evolve to a spiritual state that they just won't remain students, pupils, or learners, or understudies, or apprentices, but that they will also become teachers themselves. And a disciple is also one who is an imitator of their teacher. When they hear instruction, they begin to use their intellect and their critical thinking skills, and it is thought accompanied by endeavor. So that means the disciple has to take the time to really begin to think and process all that he or she is being taught by their master or their teacher before they begin to put those principles into application. And in our previous teachings, we dealt with principle number 1, which is to show up where your teacher sets up, where Jesus set himself on a mountain, and when he did so, his disciples came unto him. So that means the disciple has to have unconditional dedication, because disciples will follow the teacher and the teaching where the teacher goes to teach, because they understand that their master, their teacher, is their spiritual lifeline that provides them sustenance and nourishment for their spiritual growth. And then we dealt with the second principle of discipleship, which is come with a spiritual appetite. Come with a spiritual appetite. We should arrive in the presence of the master, of the teacher, empty, so the teacher can adequately fill us with divine knowledge. All you have been taught previously when you come into the presence of your God-ordained teacher relating to church and religion is irrelevant, is antiquated, is obsolete compared to the mystery of kingdom truths that will be revealed to you by your teacher. And so today we want to deal with principle number 3 as it relates to discipleship, and that is disciples humanly submit to divine authority. Disciples humanly submit to divine authority. Now that word submit is the Greek word hypiko, and it means to resist no longer, but to give way. It is also a metaphoric term which means to yield to authority and admonition. So the yielding is twofold. You're not just yielding to a person, but you are yielding to the divine position that God has placed them in. And you're also yielding to the divine instruction that they will impart unto you. It means to surrender to one who has what you're in need of. So submission is so important in kingdom discipleship. And when we talk about submission, that means that there can be no room for pride, for arrogance, for egomania, and narcissism. There is someone greater than you, and this is the person that God has divinely ordained in your life to teach you. The teacher knows more than you. The teacher has experienced more than you. And the teacher has deeper intimacy with the Lord than you. And they teach you out of that insight and out of those experiences. And so the goal of a teacher with a disciple is to make that disciple a teacher. Paul said in 2 Timothy 2:2, he told Timothy, he said, "In the things that you've heard of me among many witnesses, the same," that's the exact instruction, "commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also." So Paul was making Timothy a teacher, so Timothy could also make other teachers. It's all about duplicating discipleship, duplicating mentorship, duplicating apprenticeship, and so on. So you can't learn if you don't listen. You can't be helped if you don't heed, and you can't be instructed if you're not in place. So all those things are extremely critical. Now the word submitting in the Greek is hypotasso, and it means to yield to one's admonition or advice, to arrange under, to be put in subjection to. And this word is a Greek military term meaning to arrange troop divisions in a military fashion under the command of a leader. Let me read that again. To arrange troop divisions in a military fashion under the command of a leader. So you don't have a kingdom if you don't have a military. You don't have a kingdom if you don't have law enforcement. You don't have a kingdom if you don't have law enforcement officers to expand the dominion of the kingdom. And even in non-military use, submitting is a voluntary attitude of giving in, cooperating, assuming responsibility, and carrying a burden. Now, this meaning indicates that as believers, our spiritual lives are in desperate need of being arranged by the King and his kingdom. So to arrange is to put into a proper order or into a correct or suitable sequence, relationship, or adjustment. And to prove that many believers' lives are not kingdom arranged, many have been stuck in traditional church, and therefore they're not kingdom arranged, but they are religiously deranged. That's right, they are religiously deranged. And when someone is deranged, that means that they are unable to think or act in a normal or logical way. And as a result, they're suffering from mental illness. And we have to understand that man-made church will make you crazy. Man-made church will make you deranged. All the religious tradition and man-made rules and regulations and their denominationalism and their dogma and their doctrine, it can make you insane in the membrane. But with the kingdom is about liberation and not incarceration. It's like when a person with a mental illness, when they're placed in a mental institution and they become heavily medicated, they don't know day from night. They don't know if they're coming or going. And many believers are deranged by denominations and by religiously based churches. And all these churches are mental institutions. They want to brainwash you and control your minds with false, erroneous, man-made doctrine. So you won't use your intellect, you won't use your critical thinking skills. It's never about you questioning their answers, but they always want to answer your questions, but they don't want you to question their answers. It's just like being in a mental institution with some of these religious churches. And they will straitjacket you with scripturally illiterate preachers, misinterpretation of the scriptures, making you think they're being properly interpreted. And as a result, you become heavily medicated or comatose or in a vegetative state. And as a result, you have become a religious sociopath, a religious sociopath. And let me explain what a sociopath is. It is a person with a mental health condition where they consistently show no regard for right or wrong, and they ignore the rights and the feelings of others. And you notice people that are religious sociopaths, they will always try to force their beliefs on you, and they never respect yours. They want you to respect their feelings, but they never want you to respect their feelings. And they're completely one-dimensional, narrow-minded. There's no flexibility. They strictly function from a place of rigidity, and they're never open to receive the revelation of God. And that's what happens when people are religiously brainwashed. Look at a few more signs of a sociopath. They lack empathy for other people. Their behavior is impulsive. They attempt to control others with threats or aggression. That's why people love to propagate the hell message, because they want to scare you and they want to control you, to keep those pews filled and keep those offering baskets filled. And that somehow, if you don't submit to their erroneous doctrine, that you're going to spend eternity in this fiery torture chamber forever and ever. And that kind of teaching will produce religious sociopaths. It will produce people that are deranged and insane in the membrane and have all type of mental health issues because of the way they have been brainwashed by man-made religion. Sociopaths will also use their intelligence, their charm, and their charisma to manipulate others, not learning from mistakes or punishment. They have a know-it-all mentality. They lie for personal gain. They show a tendency to physical violence and fights. Even in my own life in ministry, I've dealt with people that became physically violent toward me, and they were strictly religious people, and they ended up being deranged and being sociopaths. But in kingdom discipleship, disciples voluntarily engage in submission because they learn adequately who and what they're submitting to. Excuse the thunder and lightning is about to rain here in South Georgia. Discipleship develops you while church destroys you. Discipleship will release you into your destiny, but church religion will restrain your destiny. Discipleship will embrace your authenticity, while church religion advocates artificiality. Discipleship wants you to be free to be who God has called you to be, but religious church wants you to be free to be fake. In kingdom submission, is where you learn the rules of the kingdom, the dress code of the kingdom, and the code of ethics of the kingdom that diametrically opposes church religion. It is your discipleship catechism or discipleship orientation. And I think about in times past, there were a lot of local churches that had what they considered discipleship classes. Those weren't discipleship classes. Those were church membership classes where their objective was to brainwash you concerning their church and their denomination. They wanted you to know all the nooks and crannies of religion, but zero about the kingdom. Because the kingdom is the rule of God, the government of God, the doctrine of God, the dogma of God, the citizenry of God. And most importantly, it's about learning who the king is who's living on the inside of you. So submission liberates, not incarcerates. It builds you up and it doesn't bully you. Now, here in this text in Hebrews 13 and 17, it says, obey those who rule over you and be submissive. Now, that word rule in Greek, it doesn't mean control. It doesn't say obey those who exercise control over you, but we are to obey those who take the spiritual lead. That's what that word means in Greek. It means to take the spiritual lead. So when God has given you an ordained teacher to instruct you in the ways and in the rules of the kingdom, they are simply leading the way, and you are submitting to that leadership that God has ordained. Because Romans 13 says that the powers that be, the authority that exists, is ordained of God. So we are to listen and to comply with, trust in, have confidence in those who are exercising the lead over us in the kingdom, those who govern according to kingdom laws. And it's more about the instruction than it is the instructor. It is more about the teaching than it is the teacher. And it is more about the training than it is about the trainer. And then the writer says, and submit yourselves. To resist no longer, but give way and to yield. Because these men and women have been anointed and appointed by the King himself. When the rule and reign of the King and the kingdom has been made evident in their own lives, and you follow that example, and your ability and capacity to submit will cause you to be beneficiaries of kingdom benefits that will unfold and that will be untold. The blessings and the benefits of the kingdom will absolutely, positively, and unequivocally blow your mind. Thank you for joining us for this time of teaching. For more information concerning our ministry, whether it be engagements, whether it be our recent book and other materials, or if you want to financially support the ministry, you can log on to our website at drbennecalloway3rd.com. I appreciate this time that you and I have shared together, and I look forward to the next encounter with the King and his kingdom. Peace.